Hi, this is the bad boy, Joey Janela, and you're listening to the Going in Raw podcast. Joey Janela always goes in.
This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Going in Raw.
Hey everyone, Kenny Omega here. In case you didn't know, we have an awesome kick-butt show called Steven Larson's Going in Raw, and they're going to be supporting AEW every week amongst many other things. Goodbye and smooch. Good night. Bye-bye.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. This coming Saturday, we'll be doing our Royal Rumble live reactions along with the Enforcer. That should be a lot of fun. The Royal Rumble is always the best, at least WWE pay-per-view, the one that we look forward to the most. You've got these days, of course, you got not one Rumble, but two Rumble matches. Always were a lot of fun. A lot of intrigue going into the Royal Rumble this year with the Brock and the Roman and all that stuff. So be sure to join us for that. Should be a lot of fun. Absolutely. But we're here to talk about, of course, AEW's Beach Break, especially a special themed Dynamite taking place from, of course, the beachiest city we can think of, Cleveland,
Ohio. I mean, technically, there are beaches there on the shores of Lake Erie.
Sure, yeah.
So there
absolutely
are beaches. It's not like it was some place that's completely, without any bodies of water around it. So
yeah, I was disappointed.
Beaches. It's not a place you think Cleveland when you think
not really
beach. It's spoken,
I was really hoping there would be more sand on the set. They had a really lame looking beach chair with an umbrella and a couple of surfboards.
Yeah, that was the extent of it. It was like when we were making our own arena in one of the older wrestling games, and it's like you could only have so many objects up on stage. It's like you only had so many object points to use up there.
Right.
And so that's what you got. It's that. It was.
Let's talk about. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, we got this probably on the thumbnail. I haven't decided what exactly, but there was one highly anticipated, very much expected, didn't happen debut. Johnny Gargano nowhere to be found. I kind of feel like we talked about a little bit after the show. He's got a kid on the way.
Yeah. And
he spoke about in his goodbye to NXT, I want to be a dad for a little bit. I wonder if it's going to be quite a bit longer. Once you get that kid around, it's sort of difficult to go back to the grind. If you're a new parent, maybe the last thing he wants to do necessarily is go back to the grind of things. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's always a possibility,
Yeah, I don't know. I primary reason we thought he'd show up tonight is because it was in Cleveland, it's his hometown. If there's been in any other city in America, in North America, anywhere else in the world, probably would have thought it. But with it being in Cleveland, it's like, oh, okay. AEW tends to give fans, especially hometown fans, moments they want.
Oh, yeah.
And having Gargano debut in front of hometown fans would have been a huge moment, I'm sure, for Johnny. It would have been a huge moment for Cleveland. Didn't happen. We did get a debut, though.
Tonight. We did. Yes, a very nice, very evil debut.
Yes, Danhausen made an appearance during the main event, the Lights Out match. Adam Cole pulled a chair out from under a ring. At the other end of that chair was Danhausen. Danhausen has built himself quite a following via social media, via countless indie matches, a stint in Ring of Honor. He's just coming back from injury. So it'd be interesting to see how AEW uses him within their stories. He's a very different approach to a pro wrestling character, a very interesting one, a very entertaining one.
Highly entertaining.
And I'm really curious to see how he's woven into the fabric of the stories they're telling.
I mentioned this during the live stream. By the way, thanks to everybody for hanging out with us during the live stream. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to put up our more extreme reactions, for example, to that bonkers opening match, which was absolutely crazy. But I'll put them up on the brand new Friendo Club TV channel. I mentioned this, we'd sort of talked a little bit about somebody in our chat had said, I hope if Orange Cassidy wins the Lights Out match, which he did, that he goes on and doesn't have another, months-long pointless feud like that person considered the Matt Hardy feud to be with. I think a lot of people consider that to be a pretty underwhelming feud. Orange Cassidy is one of those characters that I don't think it's the easiest thing in the world to figure out how to, crack his creative necessarily on a consistent basis, because while he is wildly popular, he's also just a different character that doesn't always come across as like a normal human does, And so Danhausen is kind of in the same kind of boat in terms of he's unique. He is not your normal, hey, I'm a pro wrestler guy who can beat people up like a Daniel Garcia, for example, or most of the people on the roster who just come across as like regular people. Danhausen's a character. And again, a wildly popular one coming into the company without having the national exposure necessarily beyond, like you said, Ring of Honor. It'll be very interesting, but I have no doubt that Danhausen's one of those guys who will bring his own creative to the table, which is the kind of thing that could sink or swim you in AEW. As we've seen, Big Swole had mentioned this in her podcast. You got to come with, your own creative ideas to be considered in AEW. And to some people's detriment, unfortunately, they're unable to do that. I have no doubt that Danhausen's going to be able to do that. It's going to be very interesting to see where he fits in the AEW sort of scheme of things.
Yeah.
I love Danhausen. He cracks me up.
Yeah.
He's wildly fun. So I'm really looking forward to this. I mentioned this also during the stream. I can't imagine what it's like being somebody who's into AEW but might not give a shit about the larger wrestling community, maybe not knowing about him.
Yeah.
And the way he was introduced in such a great way, Adam Cole going into the ring to find a chair or some foreign object and pulls out Danhausen.
Yeah.
And then he gives him the curse and then he walks off.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff that AEW is like, yeah, we'll just bring this guy in. If people don't know who he is, now they're going to know who they are.
They typically find a good way to bring people in that is consistent with their character,
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
They're generally pretty good about that. Kind of going back to Gargano, Zondo here in chat says, Gargano tweeted about not debuting, quote, I heard you, and you have no idea how much it means to me that you're excited to see me back at it. It's scary to step away because your insecurities say they'll forget about you. But you haven't forgotten, and I promise that I will make it to you as soon as possible.
That's cool. Thank you, Zondo, for breaking that for us.
Thank you,
our community really is the best.
The
We had
best.
By the end of that, we had like 600 people watching
crazy.
with us.
It's
That
pretty
was
crazy.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, 330 right now. What's up, everybody? So yeah, that was a very welcome surprise. And like you said, we had sort of mentioned this also a little bit, and we've mentioned this off and on. AEW tends to stick to the eastern sort of half of the United States.
So far they have, yeah.
And I have no doubt that once Gargano, assuming he doesn't show up at the Rumble or something, once he's ready to come back, and if he does elect to come to AEW, I'm sure they can find a date in Cleveland where they can make make happen.
Exactly.
It's kind of refreshing, somebody just wants to just go chill and like just go enjoy the birth of your kid. It really is, depending on how many kids you have. I mean, there's only one first, I guess. And yeah, so enjoy that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We'll be, look, nobody's gonna forget about John.
No one's gonna forget about John. He's been wrestling pretty much nonstop for like more than a decade. So I'm sure it's good for his body just to take some time off to heal. Let's take a quick break here to get a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Several years ago, I was dealing with severe anxiety, and I learned how important it was to talk to a therapist. But I also learned that it can be really difficult to find the right person to talk to. Today, BetterHelp is providing a safe, convenient, and private online environment where your needs will be assessed and you'll be matched with your own licensed personal therapist.
BetterHelp isn't a crisis line, nor is it self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online, and you don't have to limit yourself to counselors in your area. BetterHelp services are available worldwide, so you can find the expertise you need regardless of location.
BetterHelp is dedicated to facilitating great therapeutic matches, all without having to sit in another uncomfortable waiting room. You can send your counselor messages whenever you want, or you can schedule regular phone or video sessions. And BetterHelp has made it free and easy to change therapists if needed.
We want you to start living a happier life today. As a Going In Raw listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at BetterHelp.com/raw. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw. Let's talk about the other kind of surprising outcome of the day. Cody Rhodes, no longer TNT champion. Sammy Guevara defeated him in a ladder match, which all sorts of crazy stuff happened.
Oh, my gosh.
All sorts of crazy stuff. We'll get into the details and we break down the match. But this leaves you kind of scratching your head as to why Cody Rhodes won the title in the first place. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're here to speculate about.
Yeah, I know. So since he won it the first time, and tonight, obviously, there was the rumors that he's working with no contract. Now, we kind of speculated during the show, him dropping that belt, is that in service of feeding into whatever story he has planned for himself? You know, and maybe because he's not TNT champion anymore, people at least can be under the impression, whether it's true or not, he has no contract. I'm sure speculation is going to fire right back up. Is he going to be in the Rumble?
Ooh.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either, but there's still 8 spots left. Well, 7 if you consider Brock. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Sky Bet says tomorrow. I don't know, dude, there's a lot. I don't even know if we have time necessarily to unpack just Cody with everything, working potentially without a contract. Or is he? Is he working us? He had mentioned his contract not being the one that he wanted last week in his weird promo. I don't know. He is doing this weird Cody meta storyline thing.
Yeah.
That may or may not have the blessing of Tony Khan, not just the owner, but the head of creative at AEW. The Rumble is right around the corner. Is this to trick us into thinking he's going to be at the Rumble? Would there be a weird thing? Well, now that he doesn't have a contract, would WWE take him? Let's just consider it for a second. Would WWE take him for a one-off appearance in the Rumble, knowing full well that he's probably going to go right back to AEW? Because he has a bunch of other obligations on the network. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know, but it makes for an intriguing next few days.
It
or
does.
Next,
it does. I'm sure tomorrow and Friday there's going to be a lot of chatter about surprises in both the Rumbles, and that includes Cody, and I'm sure a lot of other people. That's one thing that makes Rumble season so exciting.
Yeah, I know.
It's all the surprises. Don't know
because
like
happen. you don't, Edge denied it up and down. He's always terrible at that, though. I don't know. I'm not, like you said, I'm not expecting it at all.
No.
But it's been a really weird couple of years in wrestling.
That is true.
And so I kind of don't think anything would completely floor me anymore, because you just never know. I think the speculation is great. I think it's healthy. I think it's fun. Like you said, it's what makes Rumble season. And nobody knows that better than Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Yep.
Guy who spent the first however many years of his career.
About a decade, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I think that the great thing about that TNT title, or now titles, Sammy was sporting both of them during his little.
Well, I'm guessing going forward he's just going to have the one. Usually, an interim is unified with main title. The interim one just goes away.
He should just fuse both titles, just weld them together.
Yeah.
The great thing about the TNT title is that it adds one element that I really appreciate in wrestling, and that's unpredictability.
Yeah.
I feel like the AEW World title, we can kind of get a sense of where that's headed, where that's going. Even the women's world title, we both feel that Thunder Rosa is probably going to get it next.
Chance for that to happen, yeah.
But the world title, but the TNT title is kind of all over the map. Not always for the best. Sammy's first run with the TNT title was not great. Cody gets it back, and then he drops it right back.
Let me ask you this then, because maybe one of the reasons, or do you think maybe one of the reasons that they did the quick title change in the back to Sammy was to try to add some adversity and some weight to Sammy's reign?
I thought about that too. It could be like a restart. Maybe they saw, hey, this isn't going great. Let's get this Cody character here who like is trying to be the Triple H of AEW. He gets it from Sammy. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a foregone conclusion. Then they give Sammy this big match where he shows what he can do. Mm-hmm. I'm not always sold on Sammy's character. He doesn't give me a lot to give a shit about. But his wrestling, we have to be honest, is fucking outstanding.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal wrestler. Yeah.
He is, absolutely. And there are several people who I consider not terribly compelling. I'll watch every match. There's Roderick Strong as a guy I've never felt terribly compelling, except for the one time in Undisputed Era when he was doing some really good heel comedic stuff. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, but I'll watch his matches all day long because he's great. Sammy's kind of in that area for me too. His matches are terrific. And tonight was a real showcase for it. That cutter where he just leapt onto the ladder rung and launched himself off was so smooth.
That was crazy.
And so beautiful.
Crazy.
So it could be that it was like, hey, let's give this guy a restart. Plus, Cody can use that moment to tell the story, a little bit of intrigue. Who knows if he's going to be on Rampage on Friday? Cody might show up on Rampage because they're probably taping it right now.
Yeah, drop a promo or something. Yeah.
Drop a promo, add some more intrigue. I mean, I don't know. We're going to be probably sitting here. If any spoilers show up on social media, we won't go into those if we see them.
And in fact, during the show, after his match against Sammy, which opened the Dynamite this week, later on they had a bit where Sammy was doing the sign thing during picture-in-picture, and I was half expecting, even before that, after Cody lost, at some point he would do an interview or something backstage. Where he could do the thing. Well, yeah, it's a tough loss out there. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Time to do some reevaluation. Something along those lines,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do I belong here?
Yes.
I mean, that's all he's got to say. Do I belong in AEW?
Or is it time for me to go write another list? Something like that.
Yeah.
Of course.
I could totally see him doing that.
Famous list that he posted on Twitter of all the stuff he wanted to do after he got released from WWE. Yeah.
Oh, innovative. Everybody started doing lists after that.
Yep. True innovator in this business, Cody
look,
Rhodes.
Say what you will about Cody. You have to appreciate the way he left WWE and then just completely like blew it up. Man, we were there when he was getting just booed by people. Mm-hmm. He was playing that shit up. His time in New Japan was so much fun.
Yeah, no, even before that, we saw him at a PWG show.
Yeah.
Like maybe the February after he got released.
Yeah.
And he was still, they were chanting Cody F and Rhodes. He was still well within. I mean, granted, he was fighting TNA superstar Trevor Lee. Maybe that has something to do with it. But the fans were still behind him at that point. It was, after he joined Bullet Club and stuff that, he became maybe top heel in the entire business.
Yeah. Boy, people were on him. Let's see.
Let's talk Dynamite as a whole, I guess. It was bookended with two really, really, really good matches. Yeah. I thought Layla Hirsch versus Red Velvet was really good, too. There was just a whole lot of talking in between.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all love CM Punk and MJF largely for their promo skills. Don't need 20 minutes of it in one shot, especially when there isn't a whole lot being said.
Yeah.
CM Punk, he came out during the episode, wanted to throw down right then and there with MJF. MJF comes out and this dude just starts talking, and it kind of just sucked the air out of a lot of stuff.
It really did.
It was really, really long.
It took they took the long way to say not much at all. Like there was a Britt Baker promo segment as well. Again, didn't really say a whole lot. Nothing to advance the story per se because she's not even really in a feud with anybody right now, is she?
No, she's not.
She's not. So
they just did that. They did. She just got out of a match with the mixed tag match.
Yeah.
With Statlander, and she's in a feud with Layla Hirsch.
Now. Yeah. So, like if someone had come out at the end of this and interrupted,
it would have advanced something.
It just didn't really advance anything.
Yeah. And honestly, if it was just that in a vacuum, it would have been like, okay, well, she said her piece. She won all those PWI awards. But it was sort of like, we're still reeling from the MJF CM Punk bit. But yeah, no, I mean, look, it was Beach Break was worth it for the opening match alone.
Yeah.
Was just had me on the edge of my seat.
It was pretty thrilling stuff. We might as well just dive into it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
So the first high spot here, and there were many. So there's a pretty damn tall ladder, probably 12 feet, 10 or 12 feet. A step in the middle, close to the middle of the ring. And then Cody sets up another ladder that's, I don't know, like 6 or 8 feet tall. Anyways, so Cody ends up hitting a superplex off the tall ladder onto Sammy, and then throws Sammy into the ladder. Picture in picture, he's hitting him with the weight belt. He's just beating the heck out of Sammy. We come back from commercial, and Cody has a ladder set up upside down. So the very top rung is on the mat, and so it's like a V facing upwards. And then he throws Sammy into the opening of the ladder, and it kind of closes on him a little bit. Probably pinched him. That looked like it sucked.
Well, see that, yeah, it's when you can get. It's funny because look, we've seen a ton of ladder matches. I don't remember anybody being thrown into the mouth of the ladder
Not
like that.
No.
And yeah, because you just think the pinching on the thighs
or the stomach,
or
that thin
stomach,
skin
the
on
rib
your
area.
stomach, that would probably really hurt.
Rough.
So then Cody puts Sammy in a figure 4 around the ladder. He sets up one ladder under the belts. Sammy hits with a couple clothesline, goes on a little bit of a run. He's looking for a springboard. Cody just throws a ladder at him, and this is when he sets up the smaller ladder in the corner. Sorry. And so Cody climbs the taller ladder. Sammy leaps onto the top rung of the smaller ladder, the very top, and then basically does a springboard cutter off the smaller ladder on Cody while he's towards the top of the taller ladder.
I'm trying to remember this in my head, and I have a terrible memory. He leapt onto the top of the smaller ladder from the third rung down?
No, from the corner. He was in the corner.
Oh, it was from the corner. That's right, it was from the corner. Man.
He got up in the corner, jumped up on the top of the smaller ladder,
nuts.
and it was smooth, seamless.
It was and he did it without hesitation.
Yep.
Man.
So Sammy then moves that smaller ladder closer to the taller ladder. They both climb their own ladders. Cody hits Sammy with the crossroads off the ladders. He climbs, Cody does. Sammy follows him, and then they're both hanging on to I don't know what you call it, but basically the thing that's holding the belts up.
Yeah.
And so the ref moves the ladder out of the way. They both fall off that thing. Cody then slams the ladder on Sammy's leg down on the floor, and then Fuego runs down, and he's just giving Cody a bunch of crap. Of course, Fuego and Sammy, like best friends, but Fuego is also friends with Cody. That's what commentary said.
From what we understand.
Yeah, that's what commentary said. So Cody's like, he gets in the ring, Fuego follows him, so Cody just drops him with a Tiger Driver.
Yeah.
And then Sammy does a springboard. Cody catches him, looks for a Tiger Driver on Sammy, but Sammy blocks, sends Cody out of the ring, hits with a corkscrew tope, follows with a GTH on the floor, and he pulls out this huge ladder from under the ring. And he puts Cody on a ladder that had been set up early in the match between the apron and barricade, climbs a huge ladder, hits the swanton off there. So back in the ring, he starts climbing the ladder under the belts. Cody climbs the opposite side. They brawl up there a little bit. Sammy hits Cody in the head with the titles and then retrieves both belts to get the win.
Man, he deserved it. All that crazy shit. And Cody did spectacularly as well. But man, Sammy was so smooth and so just it was reminiscent of old school Jeff Hardy. I guess current day Jeff Hardy too. That dude still does crazy shit.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that was great. We cut to the snow. We're outside.
The frozen tundra of Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, right. Starks looks like he's ready to go do some skiing. He's got the goggles on. Hobbs has on, without a shirt, he's got on his spray painted overalls.
Airbrush.
I'm sorry, his airbrush overalls, and a wonderfully. I'm hoping it was a faux fur coat. Mm-hmm. It might have been an actual fur. I don't know. I'm against that. But he looked like $1 million regardless.
He did. And so
awesome.
Shivani's out there too, and for an interview. And Hobbs says, "Hey, Dante, you beat me last week. I'm gonna chalk that one up to luck. Let's see how your luck fares next week." And then Stark says, "Well, hey, Jay Lethal, I forgot about your challenge. So next week in Chicago is gonna be us one-on-one." And Shivani says, "You know what? My hand is frozen to the mic." And Will Hobbs just says, So? So good.
Oh, it's
so
awesome.
good.
It's good. So this is the second match. They got to give Hobbs this win, right?
I hope so.
You got to give Hobbs this win. You got to start pushing Hobbs, man.
I know they really should. Hobbs is great.
He is. After that, we had Wardlow versus a couple of suckers, man. Elijah Dean and James Alexander. And we had a bet going. The over-under was 5.5 on power bombs. Sure enough, Wardlow, listening in, knows I have channel points on the over. Hits 3 power bombs on Elijah Dean, 3 power bombs on James Alexander, the last of which was on Elijah Dean. So they're stacked. He puts his foot on him and gets the win.
Yep.
Wasn't the last power bomb we'd get from Wardlow tonight.
Nope. Then we had Inner Circle members, Chris Jericho, Santana and Ortiz versus 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. Inner Circle was not getting along. Essentially, Santana and Ortiz were freezing Jericho out of this match. They would not tag him in. I think Jericho was supposed to start the match, and then he got instantly tagged out by either Santana or Ortiz. And down towards the end, Ortiz is in the position to make a hot tag, and both Jericho and Santana are on the apron. And Jericho really wants to get in. Well, Ortiz tags in Santana. Santana goes on a bit of a run. Jericho steps off the apron and starts slowly backing up the ramp. Is he going to walk out on his inner circle stablemates? So 2.0 set up for a double team on Santana. Jericho comes in, pulls Jeff Parker out of the ring, and then Matt Lee kind of reaches down to see what's going on. Jericho hits him with the Judas effect, and then Santana hits Lee with a pile driver to get the win. I was kind of hoping Jericho would walk out and Santana and Ortiz would win this themselves, because that's what Santana said last week. Ortiz said last week. It's like, hey, we're going to show next week that maybe we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and of course they're just chirping at each other as Jericho walks up the ramp. The Inner Circle is not okay.
It's not all right. Had a Lance Archer Hangman Page video package to set up. They're having a Texas death match in 2 weeks.
What is the amount of gallons that Hangman's going to bleed this year in 2022?
Lots.
Because that's going to be. I thought Lights Out tonight was going to be bloody, but this Lance Archer Texas death match, oh boy, there's going to be blood. It's going to be gnarly.
It is. It is, and they're putting Hangman through the grinder here. They really are. 2 brutal matches against Danielson, and now a Texas death match.
Even the start of this feud with that blackout on the chair. Oh man, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, it is going to be rough. Then we get
After
Christian.
That,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, we had a creepy little bastard, Christian, Jurassic Express, and on the other side of Tony, we had the Hardy family office. It was Hardy and Private Party. Christian says, when you're champs, everybody's gunning for you. It's like a split screen, but they're in the same place.
Yeah, they're right next to each other.
Everybody's gunning for you. Hardy says, no one cares about him. Nobody cares about Private Party. They're the best team to come down since the Hardy Boys. It's our time on Friday to become tag champs. Jungle Boy looks at Isaiah's watch and says, that's fake.
Oh, I know. That was great. Then we had a whole lot of talking from Phil, from CM Punk, and from MJF.
Let's do an exercise in how efficiently.
Okay, here.
I know. I felt so bad because you were taking all these notes, and I'm just thinking, man, we got to start just.
Here's the thing. I type with the hopes that something good or meaningful or memorable is going to come of it, and so I want the context of that. And this is a situation where really wasn't a whole lot of that. So Phil comes out. He's like, "Hey, Cleveland, I hope you're not sick of me yet. I hope you're not sick of me talking." He says, "Because I am. I'm here. I'm dressed to fight. You know who I want to fight. Chant his name." They start chanting MJF. He talks about how he has MJF's scarf still, and how when he grabbed it from MJF, he thought that would bring out the fight in MJF. It didn't. He realized the scarf is cheap, and he says, "I want MJF to come in the ring. Let's do it tonight." He says, "I'm realistic though. MJF is, if I call him out, he'll come up with every excuse in the world." He says, "I've gone through everybody else in Pinnacle. I want MJF, and I want him tonight."
Yeah. I like the Belleville and says, "No, we need verbatim and with voice acting."
Sorry, I can't do that. So MJF comes out. So he's like, "Hey, crowd, want to see me wrestle?" And of course they do. He just looks in camera and says, "No, you think I'd waste one of the most historical matches in wrestling history on Cleveland. He says, I'll do you one better. I'll give you the match you've all been waiting for. Next week in Chicago will be CM Punk against...
He milks it.
And he says MJF. And I think the crowd was so expecting him to say somebody else that when he said MJF, there was like basically no reaction, it sounded like. I think everybody's expecting to say Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, you know?
Yeah.
And he said
Somebody
MJF.
new, yeah. Juventud Guerrera.
Yeah. And so he says, these people may want the match right now. The match will be spectacular. The finish will be upsetting. It's going to be upsetting because when I win, you're going to see that smile leaves Punk's, that fake smile, leave Punk's face because he's not getting what he wants. He's going to blame his failures on everybody else. And the hero who claimed during his return that he was back will say on February 2nd, I'm leaving again. He said MJF said it was a slap in the face when Punk said he left in 2005, but that wasn't true. He left all the fans when he was supposed to make an appearance in Cleveland 2014. I think it's 8 years to the day, I read on Twitter.
Okay.
And he says, what makes you think, fans, Punk won't do it all over again? He says all the Punk chants won't stop Punk from turning his back on you, and they're complaining about it on a podcast. And Punk just says, yeah, a podcast you listen to. Punk says these aren't mutually exclusive sentiments. The best thing I ever did was leave. The best thing I ever did was come back. And if I didn't come back, MJF, you wouldn't have this brush with greatness. Go back there, lace up your boots, come out here and handle your business when we all know that you can't. Punk says, I never lied to people. Some of the fans love him, some hate him, but he'd rather be him and try and fail to be MJF and talk a big game and never show up. He said, MJF, you paid to see me. You paid to stand in line to get my autograph, and how dare you put it on these people? The people don't love him because he wins. They love him because he gets back up and he fights just like Cleveland does and just like Chicago does. And MJF says, all right, let's test this real quick. Starts taking off his watch. FTR and Wardlow come down. They all start walking down the ramp, and then Spears attacks Punk from behind. So they're all beating up on Punk. FTR holds Punk down. Spears hits from the back with a chair, and MJF yelled at Punk, get up now. Get up now. And Punk does. He grabs MJF by the scarf and tries to pull him closer. I think it's Dax that punches him. And then MJF tells Wardlow, powerbomb him. And so FTR puts Punk in position for a powerbomb. Spears puts his chair down. And Wardlow, with a bit of hesitation.
A little bit. Yeah, he milks a little bit, yeah.
Hits Punk with the powerbomb on top of the chair. And then MJF sits cross-legged on Punk's chest.
Yeah.
It says, isn't it apropos that the place where your journey started will be the place it ends?
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting. I mean, given, it's long, we bitched about it, whatever. They're doing this match next week in Chicago. It's not a pay-per-view. It's a big deal match.
It is.
Is this going to be AEW typically doesn't do wonky finishes, but is this a situation where they might? How do you see this going down?
This could be an overbooked finish.
Okay, yeah.
Where it takes basically the entirety of Pinnacle to come out and help MJF get this win. You don't know the dynamic is going to be with MJF and Wardlow during the course of all this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be surprised if...
Yeah.
Well...
Zondo has a good one here. He says, I bet Wardlow punches MJF so MJF wins. They could go back to that thing.
Oh, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't see Punk being pinned in Chicago.
Me neither. But this isn't a typical WWE situation either.
It's not.
Like, this is a situation where you might want that heat on MJF,
Because we're all pretty conditioned based on AEW booking is that the hometown wrestler generally goes over. They get the moment. So maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if they go all in on this in terms of like being a pay-per-view level type thing, or if it's going to be an overbooked mess or something silly like Zondo here suggests.
That could be.
Right after that, it's funny. I think you got your plate of food at this moment, and you're like, oh, I can finally dig in. And then all of a sudden, the Acclaim show up on the TV, and they're talking.
I get 2 bites. I'm like, okay. No disrespect to the Acclaimed. I like them a lot. But they just dropped a promo setting up Bowen's match against Mox on Rampage this Friday. I think they were talking about how the last 2 times they ran into Mox, like he cheap shotted them or something like that.
Yeah. So Bones has a match. I think is that on Dynamite or Rampage?
It's on
Rampage
Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. After that, I was out of the room for this one.
All right, I'll cover this then. So we had a interview with the Pillman's members, Griff Garrison and Julia Hart. But before they said anything, Mark Sterling walks in. He says, Jade Cargill has chosen you, Julia, to be her next challenger for the TBS title. But I need you to sign this release because you got an injured eye. So if you get hurt during the match, you won't, say Jade was the cause of it. And Griff says, hold on, Julia, you should really, take some time and heal up. And Julia just says, I could fight my own battles, and signs the thing.
Yeah, well, lay off, Pillmans. After that, we had Layla Hirsch versus Red Velvet. I like this match because it was kind of all on the messy side. It felt more like a fight than like a match. And in the end, of course, Layla makes Red Velvet. No, she gets that's right. She gets a roll up here because she had her in an arm bar. Velvet was able to get her foot on the bottom rope.
Yeah.
Velvet hits a shin kick, looks for a head kick. Layla catches it and rolls up Red with a handful of tights for the win.
Yeah, and afterwards Layla starts attacking Velvet again, puts her in an arm bar, and Statlander runs down to make the save and then chases Layla Hirsch up the ramp.
She gets the middle finger for her efforts too. Yeah. After that, we had a House of Black video package. First, it was Malachi, but he was on one side of the screen, so the negative space there was going to be big old Brody King here. Malachi says, the House of Black is built on conflict. Brody King is the embodiment of violence and conflict. We'll be thankful for him. Brody shows up, says, hey, Pac, you denounced the House, and for that, you're going to be humbled. He will pray for salvation because just like death, and then he walks away. Malachi finishes a sentence, says they are inevitable.
Yeah, I maybe wrote down maybe like 25, 33% of what they were saying because I had a plate of food in front of me. And Malachi gets a lot in.
He's a very chatty guy.
He uses a lot
very fast with his words.
He does, yeah. He gets a lot in his promo, so I just try to get the important bits.
No, that's good. I just put on the voice, and I hope that carries it.
Yeah. I think that's the important beat. So after that, we had Sammy was doing the sign thing during picture-in-picture, and then we had Britt Baker. She came down to collect her PWI awards. She said, it's been a while since I've had a chat with Cleveland, but just because I haven't been around on the mic much, don't think I'm a stranger to it. She says every time MJF and Punk are talking, they say her name. She says, but look at the year I had. I got Match of the Year, Most Improved, Female Wrestler of the Year, and I told you that 2022 was to be the era of the DMD, and I was right. And then she starts talking trash about Baker Mayfield and the Browns. Then she says, everything I accomplished, I did with a broken wrist. She says this division was a wasteland before me, and I made it a utopia. Anyone could have made the division theirs. See, she says, I didn't take anyone's spot. I created the top spot and became the face of AEW. She says she's been making history ever since she got here, the first woman to sign a contract with the company, the first woman to main event, and she stands here as voted by all of you, the Female Wrestler of the Year. And then she talks more crap about Baker Mayfield and the Browns. But she says, I'm here for you, so I won't settle to just be Female Wrestler of the Year. I want to be Female Wrestler of the Decade. You might as well give it to me now because I'm not going anywhere. She says, I'm the champ you all deserve, and Cleveland finally has a Baker they can count on.
Ooh. After that, Vicky Guerrero, she said, excuse me. It's like, oh, what? More talking?
There was so much talking. This
was quick, though. This one was quick, though. Yeah. So Vicky and Nyla come to the stage. Nyla grabs a mic, says, I should be the TBS champ. The only reason I'm not is because of Ruby. Says, if we wrestled 100 times, I'd win 99 of them, and I want Ruby Soho next week. That should be a good match.
That should be a good one. Then we had our main event, Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy. I hope Adam Cole is all right. The finish of this match had a bit of a scary spill where they both collide up on top of the tunnel, and then Orange hugs Adam Cole and then flings them both off the top of the tunnel through the floor. And it looked like Adam Cole kind of landed on the back of his head, shoulder.
There was a lot of rotation right there, and he was, they showed them afterwards, and he was selling. It was obvious that he was selling. It's not like when Phoenix busted his arm, and he's like, "Oh, that was real."
Yeah.
And you've mentioned this, he's taken a lot of spots. The air raid crash off the top of the cage of War Games.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of nasty spots.
But, man, you never want to see somebody get hurt. You want everything. When, like, for example, when Cody did that crossroads off the ladder, it was like, or no, the suplex, the superplex off the ladder.
Yeah. I
was like, wow, they're doing this perfectly. Like, they landed as perfectly as you could do a high risk spot like that, a high impact spot.
Yeah.
This looked rough. It was a really fun match. I was kind of surprised nobody bled. But still, they did some cool stuff. There was the Danhausen bit. There was a bit where Adam Cole went for a low blow, and instead Orange Cassidy had a cup with like studs or tacks or something on it. And Cole was selling the arm there. But no, this, and then, so the Adam Cole thought that a Panama Sunrise with him starting from the top of the tunnel was going to be more impactful than just like a normal Panama Sunrise. The physics don't really make a lot of sense, though, because he's just looking to blow out his own knees.
The brunt of the impact will be on his own joints and limbs, his legs. And you're looking at blown out knees, broken bones, as opposed to damaging Cassidy any more than you would from a normal Panama Sunrise or Destroyer type move. Like
maybe the impact of his balls to the back of Orange Cassidy's head when he goes down there.
I don't know.
That would, or as Utubian here says, surely the impact of Orange's head would hurt his sack. That's probably more likely.
It didn't make a lot of sense. Anyway, as I said, for that crazy spot off the top of the tunnel. So Orange gets up there. So Cole climbs at the top of the tunnel, expecting Cassidy to be over there. He's like prettying to the crowd. He's got a huge smile on his face. He looks over and Orange isn't there. And Orange had gotten up and started climbing the top of the tunnel himself. So Orange is up there. He hits Cole with a low blow and then hugs him and then looks down on the floor. Cole realizes what's about to happen, tries to free himself, can't. Orange and Cole tumble to the floor, and Orange just kind of lands on top of Cole to get the win. Since it's a lights out match, it doesn't count against Cole's record. I'm still pretty surprised they had Orange Cassidy beat him, because it's always been start and stop with Cassidy. He wins the feud with Jericho, is mired in kind of a go-nowhere feud with Matt Hardy. It's always kind of been that with Orange Cassidy. And I always kind of thought whoever was going to beat, whether it counted against the win-loss record or not, Adam Cole first, was probably going to be fairly impactful. And maybe it will. Maybe this is going to launch Orange Cassidy onto something grander than he's been involved with so far. I don't know.
Last week when we were talking about this, you and I were both firmly in the Cole territory. I was able to pad my prediction stats a little bit with this because I went with Orange Cassidy. Because the more I thought about it over the week, the more the points that the friendos had made in the chat they were making just made a lot more sense. I really went to the whole, and I do think, and I think you're with me on this, that I think that Thunder Rosa was a more surefire bet in terms of her star power than Britt Baker, and that's why it was okay for Britt to lose that lights out match, because she ended up becoming a bigger star.
Yeah, the circumstances of that match were vastly different than Adam Cole walking into this match undefeated, It's not something they have really been harping on. And I know the loss doesn't count against his record, but the perceptions of fans' minds, he's lost a match.
That being said, they were able to transition Britt into a bigger star because of that. And I feel like, I was like, okay, plus the way that last match went down, with Britt going through the table and then Adam Cole taking advantage of that and beating Orange Cassidy, I was like, okay, I could see. I always sort of, because they are very start and stop with Orange Cassidy. Sometimes it doesn't feel like he's as big a star as he should be. But again, as it was with Sammy winning the TNT title, maybe they view this as a new start for Orange Cassidy because he hasn't been doing a whole lot lately. We'll see where that goes. I still kind of feel it's probably going to be MJF, but I think Adam Cole has a good shot at taking that title off of Hangman Page.
I don't want to make it sound like that there's a loss to Orange Cassidy is going to derail whatever they have planned for Adam Cole. I thought they were going to build up Cole and have him go undefeated for a bit longer. I know technically he is. But.
That's a big technically. It's a big technically. So yeah.
I was looking on Twitter here to see if there's any word on.
Oh yeah,
Adam Cole or Orange Cassidy for that matter, because not like he got off easy on that fall either.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I can't see anything. Do you see that they announced Tom Lawler for the Prestige show here in town?
Man, I did. I know. Lawler, Taya Valkyrie, Leo Rush. There was another name.
And MV Young and there's somebody else too. Shoot.
March 13th, is that when it is?
Mm-hmm.
At the Colonial Theater, the historic Colonial Theater in Sacramento. We're going to be there. So if y'all want to say hi, if you're in the Northern California area, or if you're not and you want to fly out to it, that's cool too. Got some questions here on the Patreon, and if you have any questions here in the Twitch chat, be sure to highlight them. Rich says, with how overbooked the main event was, if the Shit Twins were in an overbooked tag match, who would do our run-ins?
So we're in the match.
We're in the match.
Enforcer,
Cal Jack,
and then Luchando.
Yeah. And Luchando, yeah. Adam Mayhem.
There you go.
Yeah, he'd swerve you and join Team Steel. Well, are we fighting each other? You versus me, or are we a team?
I guess that's unknown.
Yeah, no idea. David Matushek. Do you think when Danhausen arrived in AEW, he put a hex on Adam Cole for him to loot? Clearly.
I look like that's what he did, yeah.
I think that the curse was on, yeah. Yes.
Shane's birthday tweet, will AEW ever top the first MJF Punk promo off during this feud, or will that be the top moment of the feud? The match will be good.
I think the match will be awesome.
You know, I think they're trying to get that level of promo excellence every time out. You know, it's not a given it's going to happen.
Look, you know what? I'm not gonna. Well, I guess I did criticize them, but the philosophy of, hey, these are two guys that are known as the best promos of their generation. Let's give them the people as much as they can possibly handle. You know, you can't really criticize them too much for giving the people what they want.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. Moses Opposes here has a question. Would Britt's segment have been much more impactful if it set up her next challenger?
Yeah.
And if so, who? So I'm looking at the rankings right now. And because we're at the beginning of the year, everything reset. So it's a little bit... Right now it would be Layla Hirsch at 4-0. I guess below her, because sometimes their math is a little weird. So below her, it would be either Red Velvet at 3-1 or Serena Deeb at 2-0. I don't know if they count wins heavier than.
Well, since Red Velvet just lost, she's going to go down in the rankings.
No, I'm accounting for that.
Sorry. Yeah, then you'd think that Deeb would probably go up then.
If you're 2-0, I know mathematically speaking, but Red Velvet does have one more win than Serena Deeb does. Thunder Rosa's only 1-0 in singles action. I would think at this point, if you're going to get to Revolution, you would need to do some sort of like number one contender match or tournament to determine a new number one contender. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I would think so too.
But yeah, I think it would. If during her thing she was interrupted by somebody and said, "Hey, I want a shot at that title," and they flip over the table or something, but they didn't do that.
They didn't do that. Bear Winning says, will Tony Khan license tequila by the champs for Danhausen?
Wait, what?
That's Danhausen's entrance, I think, or he has used it before.
Oh, he does the thing during the match. Well, they have to.
I would think so.
During his, because that's what he does during the match. He does the tequila. He does the Pee Wee Herman dance thing on the apron.
Flats says there's 0 matches announced for Revolution. Any worries about that card with only 5 weeks left? No, 5 weeks is plenty.
Yeah, it's plenty of time. I mean, look, they've got to wonk this shit next week in Chicago to motivate a Revolution match between these two.
You would think so.
Punk versus MJF has to be a pay-per-view match.
You would think so. Yeah, they probably have some stipulation or something attached to it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Chavon says, since Pac doesn't seem to be joining the House of Black at the moment, who do you guys think will be the third man to join them to feud against Death Triangle? He says, why should it be Miro?
Miro just needs to be doing his own thing.
I agree.
I mean, during their video package tonight, there was a quick shot of Julia Hart with the eye patch on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it should just be Danhausen.
That would add an extra dimension to House of Black for sure.
It should be Orange Cassidy. Let's see here. Sup John says, if AEW's video game is either really good or hilariously bad, would you guys consider streaming that over a WWE game? Why do one or the other? We could do both.
Why make the choice?
Yeah, flip a coin on that. We're gonna be playing good or bad. We're gonna be checking out 2K22.
This is a stellar idea here from Nikyle. He says, why has AEW not done a number one contenders gauntlet match between the top 5 participants in the rankings? The higher you are, the later the match you come out. So you're fifth,
tweet
5 and
that
4.
At Tony Khan.
You're 5 and 4. You're the first 2 in. That's brilliant.
Kyle, tweet that out
to
Tony Khan.
That is
we'll
great.
Retweet it. That's a great idea. This is good. Anansi says, what if the MJF that shows up next week is an NWO MJF?
That could be.
Some sort of a cosplay situation, perhaps.
Oh, Flat said they did that for FTR's title shot.
Oh, they did? Cool. Right on. Kyle, you're a genius. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. It's our heavy streaming day tomorrow. Yes. So at noon, we've got NXT UK. At 2:30, I think we usually do. No, right after that. At 1, we're going to do Numbers Don't Lie.
Yeah.
And then at 5 p.m.
Probably
Pacific,
closer to 1:30.
1:30? Oh, yeah, because UK goes that long. Or we usually
Usually
start at late.
1:32-ish. We usually are over, yeah.
Then, of course, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, the show everybody loves and looks forward to during the week, including us, Smash Zone. What are you thinking right now? Over or under on the whammies?
Is it still 5.5 or we bump up to 6.5?
I think 5.5 probably makes sense.
I'll go the over.
Ooh, maybe me too. Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.